Alright. Alright, today we're with Shawna P. Shawna, where are you from?
I am originally from the Shoals area. I was born in Florence and grew up just down the road in Decatur, Alabama. North Alabama.
North Alabama. So you get your love for music from the original source.
Absolutely.
Okay. And today, how would you describe the music that you do?
I call the music that I do earth funk music because there's so many influences involved. I just call it earth funk. People ask me what kind of music I do, and I say I'm a funk preacher. So that pretty much encompasses it with the influences I have. It's very soulful. It's there's a deep spiritual element to my music, and it's really funky music that makes people feel good. But as a writer, having all the influences I've had, I write all kinds of music, so I really never know what's going to come out or what kind of package it'll be in, so I labeled it earth funk music.
All right. And how did you first get into music?
When I was a child, my two aunts babysat me all the time, my mom's two sisters, Auntie Di and my Aunt Mary. Aunt Mary was a funk monkey, and my Aunt Diane was a rocker. She was a drummer, actually, in a band called the Sands of Time, who recorded out of Muscle Shoals. She worked with Randy McCormick, who a lot of people know, does a lot of music over there, and several other guys. She was just this hippie chick that played drums. So she turned me on to like the Dead and Dylan and all of the rootsy stuff, Neil Young and things like that. My other aunt, the thing was the Isley Brothers, Commodore's old stuff was super funky. So just the combination of those two, and then my granddaddy listened to Southern gospel. So I grew up, you know, being babysat with the music everywhere, really. Always music in the house. It was great.
All right. Can you remember your first performance?
I sure can. First performance, oh wow, my dad's going to kill me on this one, was probably at the Bootlegger's house. I did Lukenbach, Texas at the Bootlegger's house for everybody playing cards. Second performance, my grandmother will be proud of this one. It was in church at 7 at the First Baptist Church in Cortland, Alabama, doing Because He Lives. So there's all my influences already.
All right. As far as individual artists, who has influenced you the most?
You know, I was an only child, so I would sit in my room with my turntables, and some of my biggest influences from an early age, Steve Miller was a huge influence on me. I really, really loved his harmonies, his voice. Stevie Wonder was another huge influence. The Isley Brothers, the Allman Brothers, even Emmylou Harris. These are some of my favorites. In terms of influence, though, I'd say Stevie Wonder probably had to be one of the biggest influences. Mavis Staples is another one. A lot of people compare me to Janis Joplin, when really I think what people are hearing is the Mavis Staples coming out. She's just kind of an unsung hero and one of my favorites.
Okay. And did you ever get to meet her?
No, I wished I had. No. That would be amazing. Okay. I have met some great people. That she is not one of them at this point.
All right. And you were who'd you get started with? What bands did you play with?
I started in Tuscaloosa. I think that was really my official start. I always sang for people and did talent competitions and that type of thing, but really college was my start. And Wayne Perkins, who everybody seems to know, would come and sit in with us and kind of picked up on what I was doing and started helping me a lot. So I sang with Wayne a lot, sang with a band in Tuscaloosa. I sang with a real rock band in Tuscaloosa. We did Hendrix and even did War Pigs. I mean, I did a lot of rock, and then I got in a funky, soulful kind of band. That's where Wayne Perkins came in. So I really got my start in T-Town, Tuscaloosa.
Okay, and then you went Where?
Then I partied a little too hard in Tuscaloosa and decided that I needed to kind of evaluate who I am. And I had very deep religious roots at that point because I just kind of grew up in church, but I didn't really know who I was. So I decided to move back home. Actually, I had an opportunity at that point, let me say this, which was fantastic, to go over to Memphis and work with Joe Walsh, which was through Wayne Perkins. And I said, let me go home and get my head together a little bit and see if this is what I want to do and see where I'm at. And at that point, once I moved home, I started going to 12-step meetings just because there's a long line of alcoholics in my family, as it is really a lot of people's family. And I decided to go to AA meetings, and then I ended up really getting into a deeply spiritual place and got involved in church and in the ministry for 8 years. A lot of people don't realize that I'm an ordained minister. And I don't tell people because I kind of forget, but the thing is, people hear it in my music. They hear a deep spiritual undertone and hear the message of my music and always ask me, where that comes from. So for 8 years, I sang in the church and in a fantastic non-denominational church where the congregation was like half black, half white. So I'm in this choir with, black people, white people, and there's just so much soul and depth. And it was such a powerful thing. Decided to do a record then, and I do have a gospel record. Did that at home, and then decided to move to Nashville to do Christian music. Got to Nashville and kind of was really disillusioned with the Christian music industry, and so I just laid back for a while and didn't know what I was going to do, didn't know what to do. Sang in a few blues bands, things like that. At that point, a friend of mine contacted me and said, hey, you want to come sing with me at this thing called the Music Mafia? And I thought, wow, that sounds really cool. So I went with him and didn't realize what a big deal it was at the time. So I just got up on stage and told the two cats that were sitting on the piano stool, I said, hey, I need this microphone. Turns out that was Big Kenny and another guy from Big and Rich. So all these chicks are in the front row looking at me like, who does she think she is? Coming in here, just getting on the stage and doing her thing. But that really, really relaunched my passion for music and set me on fire again for what I wanted to do and to find myself as an artist again at that point. There's a lot more to the story, but I'll stop right there.
Okay, and what else do you do in Nashville?
From being in the Music Mafia, it afforded me a lot of opportunities. I met a lot of great people, a lot of influential people, and was offered a publishing deal with a publishing company there that is no longer, it's no longer there, but I really negotiated one of the best publishing deals I think I could have gotten, and had it made for a couple of years, and that really fueled my desire to be a songwriter. The songwriter in me really was born during that time, more so than anything. I realized that at the core of who I am, I'm a writer. And just had a blast with the publishing deal. I got to write with some great people. I wrote with a great writer named Amanda Williams, who is the daughter of Kim Williams, who wrote 3 Wooden Crosses. Amanda is a great writer in her own right. She has a company called Hillbilly Culture now that you guys should check out. She's doing a great thing for songwriters. Also wrote with Tim Akers and another guy named Reggie Ham, who was CSAC Songwriter of the Year for 5 years in a row. So I was very humbled to be in the company of such amazing writers, and it afforded me the opportunity to hone my craft. I gained a lot of confidence as a writer, being, put in the position to write with those people. And we came up with a great album, and I've got a lot of other songs on the back burner from that time in my life. So we started on the album Earthfunk Music during that time with my publishing company. Also, I have to mention a group of guys called 40 Pro. once my publishing deal ended, I felt kind of lost and ended up connecting with this guy named Sev Sanders. Sev's dad was one of the Oak Ridge Boys. He was the lead singer for the Oak Ridge Boys for several years. During the interim when William Lee Golden wasn't there. Singing Steve Sanders is his name. And Sev and I are like twins. We're like brother and sister. And really, really connected. I got a lot of healing at 40 Pro, and I wrote probably a third of the songs that are on Earthfunk music at 40 Pro in Gallatin. And that was a very, very healing time for me as a writer.
Okay. And you moved from Nashville back to Muscle Shoals, or did you go?
I did. Well, actually from Nashville to Mississippi.
Okay.
I was offered a record deal with a company called Jam Shack Records. Adam, who is my guitarist now and also my husband, was also offered a deal there. And he moved from Maryland, so we moved to Mississippi. We were there for only 6 months because it didn't work out. Some other things happened, and it just didn't fall into place like a lot of record deals don't. I mean, you guys, if you know anything about the music business, sometimes things just don't happen the way they're supposed to or the way they say they will. So we decided that we would either move back home to Alabama to Muscle Shoals or move to Nashville. And at this point in my life, I really felt a calling to get back to my roots. And I think a lot of people go through that, where you want to go back home and get some healing and just kind of reconnect with your roots. And Muscle Shoals seemed like a wonderful place for me to do that. So we decided to move back to my family land just outside of Muscle Shoals. It was a great, great decision. And Muscle Shoals is still alive and well, and met some great people over there in the music business, and finished my album at Fame with Don Strigley producing, and Gary Nichols also helping to co-produce along with myself on the album. Great journey.
All right, and now you're in Mobile. How did we get there?
Well, April 27th, 2011, a huge tornado came through. It's not funny, but Tuscaloosa, I know you all experienced a horrible tornado during that time, and we did too in North Alabama. We had an EF5 to come through, came through Phil Campbell and then Hackleburg, and the same tornado that came through there came through right across my family land and took my grandmother's home where my dad was living, which is the old homestead. Every house around us was gone except for ours and the house that we were in. And it picked the roof up off the house we were in. So we were very, very rattled, very shaken. And during that same time, I had met Doc Holliday, who is in Gulf Breeze, Florida, and we had been talking about doing some shows down on the coast. So right after all that happened, we're busy cleaning up, trying to do some work in the community, wanting to do everything we could to help to get through the tornado and everything that had happened, and just sifting through the rubble. And we were just exhausted, and some shows came open down here, and Doc said, why don't you come down for about 10 or 12 days? We worked through the guilt because we really felt guilty about just leaving everything. But once we came down to the coast and we did the shows, we realized, it kind of clicked for me that what a great opportunity and a great marketing strategy to move to the beach right after my album comes out and sell my CDs on the beach. So that's what we did. So we moved down in July, have had a blast, have had a great, great run of selling CDs and getting fans from all over the place, and the tribe is growing and growing and growing. So thanks to being here. And it's the beach. What are you going to do?
I was on the beach 12 and a half years. I completely understand.
Absolutely.